How will I know if these classes transfer, Ezekiel?
Working with myself or an advisor, we definitely, one of the things that I always tell students is, unfortunately, the university system isn't as nice as we'd like it to be, but we do work really well together. So we have transfer guides from different universities that are given to the community colleges. So given the major, most likely there's going to be a transfer guide that shows you what classes you could take at the community college and how they will transfer to university. So most community colleges will have that. I'm pretty sure all of them do, because we want to make sure that we're inclusive to all our students, whatever part of the region you're located in. So there is a transfer guide. And chances are that advisor will give you that guide, so that way you can look at it and manage through your classes. That way you feel that you have control over your classes and what you're going to be choosing in the future.
Can I still apply to colleges and start classes in the fall if you apply after spring term?
Yeah, you definitely can. I think a lot. So, as a community college, say you're just going into community college, and you haven't looked at the university as an option, maybe later down the future, but you want to start the community college, you don't have dual enrollment. Let's say maybe you were like me and your GPA was terrible. I had a very terrible GPA when I was coming out of high school. So not a lot of universities were looking at me, honestly, or were willing to take that chance on me. So going through the community college, obviously you have to have at least 24 transferable credits or more. So when I say transferable credits, they're credits that are 100 level or higher. Anything below 100 level will not transfer. So if you're doing like a Math 20 or a Math 60, something like that, those courses unfortunately won't transfer. They are for credit at the university, so financial aid will cover it. However, they won't transfer to university. So on average, we're looking at 12 to 14 credits that you're taking per term, right? You do 12 credits or 14 credits in the fall, then you do another 12 credits in, let's say, the winter, right? That's 26. That possibly makes you eligible to transfer to apply to the university. So you could apply for the university then, or let's say maybe you only took 8 credits in the winter or the fall and the winter, and then you take 14 in the spring. Again, everybody's different, and it has happened before. Then that's where you accumulate the 24 credits or more to transfer. You can still apply. I've had students apply June 15th. They get accepted in the middle of July. We send them up with an orientation in August. Boom, they're good to go. They're set. So it is possible. It's going to be a little bit quicker paced. We're going to make sure that you're working closely with myself or with any given advisor that you're working with to make sure that you're not missing a beat and you have everything that you need to transfer to the university. So it is possible.
Can I spend more than 1 year at the community college if I want to transfer?
Yeah, you can spend up to 2 years full-time and take up to 90 credits that can be transferable, maybe even a little bit more depending. But the trick is to make sure you're working with your advisor so you're not just taking courses that aren't going to count for your ultimate major. That's the real key. Sometimes students stay a bit too long at their community college and they take too many credits, and that can be a problem not just with like feeling frustrated that you took courses that don't transfer well, or maybe that you might have wasted a little bit of time or money, but there's actually ultimately a limit to the amount of financial aid you can get for the amount of credits that you can take. So you don't want to take too many credits so that you max out your total financial aid allotment before you can actually complete your bachelor's.
And it used to be true that sometimes there were some majors that you probably were better off doing 1 year at the community college and then moving on. However, universities have become more friendly with the community colleges and have been working to create classes that will transfer a little bit more directly to the university. So over the last couple of years, honestly, you can actually spend 2 years on any given major at the university, and you'll be fine. So again,
college.
At the community college, yeah. So make sure that you're working with your advisor, but you can definitely spend more than 2 years at the community college.
So are there advantages of starting in the fall if I'm a transfer student rather than transferring like in the winter or spring term?
Yes, scholarship-wise, it's super important. Most universities will only offer scholarships starting in the fall term. There's a couple that linger on into other terms, but the major scholarships will be offered in only in the fall. So that's another important key component, that you're looking into scholarships, because sometimes they may offer you a scholarship, but if you decide to forego the fall term and start in the winter, you may lose that scholarship. That's actually a circumstance that happened with a couple of my students this year that we weren't aware of. Luckily, we were able to get their scholarship back for the winter term, but it took a lot of work. It definitely did. So I recommend that if you're going to start, create a plan that will get you started in the fall, because sometimes some of those scholarships are worth you starting in the fall, even if you're not thinking about it. Some of those scholarships can be worth up to $5,000 per term, such as our Finley scholarship that a few of my students have actually received this last academic year. So definitely consider fall as a big option.
And to start in the fall, you want to make sure that you apply by that scholarship deadline, which at OSU is February 1st. That way you can qualify for the most possible scholarships.
Yeah.
Nice, that makes sense.
Yeah, and most scholarships, such as the OSAC, also have those deadlines of like the 15th, and do have you start, your scholarship cycle at the beginning of the fall term. So make sure that's something you consider.
Will I need to supply my high school transcripts and my ACT or SAT scores to the university if I'm a transfer student?
That's actually a big question that I get a lot from community college students. Many of them are like, do I have to send my transcript? Do I need my SAT scores? After you started the community college, all we're worried about is your community college grades. The only time we'll ask for your high school transcript is within the state of Oregon. They have a requirement that high school students complete 2 years of a foreign language within high school. However, there's a few high schools that couldn't do that, so they've passed that on to the university. So let's say you have those 2 years at the high school level. All you need to do is just show them your transcript, and they'll waive that. But if you don't, you'll have to do 2 terms of a foreign language at the community college in order to graduate from the university. So that's important, that if you do have those 2 years at the high school, you show it to the university. It's not going to impact you getting accepted, but it will impact you getting your degree when you're done with your 4 years at the university. And that's all universities across Oregon. So it's not just OSU, it's not just PSU. Every university will ask to see your transcript. If you don't, then you'll be forced to take those 2 years of 2 terms of a foreign language at the community college.
How do I go about figuring out housing?
Housing can be tricky. If you want to live on campus, you need to apply and go through that process and understand, about the different options for housing. They vary in cost. Maybe someone that you want to live with, and maybe you want to look into some housing off campus. A lot of times transfer students aren't really, wanting to jump in the dorms, and that's certainly an option. But one thing you have to remember is that in a lot of the schools, housing is tight and expensive in those areas. So you need to somehow get yourself down to where you're going, to Corvallis if that's where you're going, or Eugene or Portland, to start to look for housing around the time when hopefully before everyone else has taken all of the spots. So that can be a little tricky, but having a buddy or maybe someone that that can help you, that's already there, that can help. And sometimes the universities also do have some resources to help guide you to find some of that off-campus housing. But
and there definitely is, and I definitely agree with you. Housing can be a tricky process, and again, most as an example, I've worked with a lot of students in their housing. I mentioned the February 5th deadline earlier with housing. At least with us, that's kind of the deadline that we actually the open date for the application for housing. Housing, at the Oregon State University works this way. They give you 3 options of the different buildings that you want to choose from. So you can go ahead and take virtual tours of the housing and the different buildings that we have available for you. You choose your top 3. And then if you get accepted, you get accepted into into that specific dorm room based off of how many rooms, if you want to share it with somebody. So there's a lot of things, almost kind of like choosing an apartment and a place to live, right? Because that's basically what you're doing. Then let's say you don't know anybody down there. How do I pick somebody to live with? We actually have a matching system that opens up in May, and I kind of refer it to students kind of as a dating app. You basically put in your likes, dislikes, and all these things, and then you match up with 10 to like 50 people, and you start chatting with everybody. And if you get along and you say, hey, let's be roommates, then you send that information off to our housing department and you get selected as roommates. And yeah, so there's a lot of good options, and we have some off-campus housing options available on our websites, and most universities do too. So housing shouldn't be an issue. It is a little bit of work, a little bit of research for you to see where you want to live and the options available, like close to like the bus station, close to the MAX station, or close to whatever it may be. Those are things that you're going to want to research on your own to make sure that you're living in the most appropriate place that'll fit you.
And I could make a pitch too for living on campus for at least a year, even as a transfer student, just because I mean, it's been proven that students that live on campus are more engaged in a lot of the other kinds of student life on campus, and being engaged leads to greater academic success. So if you aren't absolutely set on living off campus, and maybe moving to this new place with this new university, it's all new to you, I would recommend living on campus for a time, just so that you can really settle in and really find your niche at the university, and connect in and really feel comfortable, like that's your town now, then maybe take a look at off campus.
So my next question is, are the classes going to be harder when I transfer? And if so, or if I need any kind of support, is that going to be available?
Well, it probably varies, but I think a lot of students may find that university feels, it's getting harder and harder. And that's really in large part because you're moving more and more into your major, getting more and more in depth into more complex material. And there is lots of support for you. And the best students, most successful students, are not the ones that don't take advantage of tutoring. They are the ones that do take advantage of tutoring. Tutoring is there for you, and all colleges and universities have help centers, tutoring centers, help available for math, writing, for all of the subject areas that you might have specific to your major. Your advisors can help you, and as you move into your major, you will have an advisor and supports within your major. There's study groups, people that are getting together to work hard on those courses where they're needing some additional help. And the sooner the better. If you find that you're struggling with writing or struggling with some of the math concepts or chemistry, sooner the better to jump in and get tutoring and support. Don't struggle alone. They're all there for you. And on top of that, it's part of your tuition and your fees that you're paying for. Take advantage of all of the things, the help, the support, the fun stuff, the rec center, and all of those things that help you de-stress and help you feel good. You'll be able to learn more when you're taking good care of yourself, and all of it is there for you. Part of what your experience at the university is all about is, really accessing all the great help that's available for you.
I always tell students that the first 2 years in college are probably the most difficult, because you're doing groundwork. You're doing the stuff that everybody else has to do. You're just laying down that foundation. And when you get into your third and fourth, you're doing what you really want to do, whether that's going into biology, going into engineering. That's where the fun begins, because you're applying everything to your specific major. So get through those first 2 years, build that foundation, and then you can start really doing the stuff that you want to enjoy. So I always tell students, first 2 years are the hardest. After that, you're good to go and you'll be fine. And remember, on average, transfer students tend to do a lot better than those who start the university from freshman year.
So I was curious about, like, if I'm wanting to be involved and participate in like maybe a study abroad program, or maybe even do some sports when I transfer, is that an option?
Oh yeah, definitely. And trust me, the study abroad options get even better at the university. So we worked with a lot of students on this. So most colleges have really cool study abroad options for you. So I definitely check in with your advisor asking about that, and they'll help you plan your courses along that so you're not missing a beat. So it's not going to be a vacation going to be studying, but it's really cool. You're going to be studying. You could be studying in Switzerland. You can be studying in Germany, and all classes are going to be in English, so you feel comfortable with that. But it's definitely an option for students. And there's a lot of intramural sports. There's a lot of sports. If you want to be on like the collegiate teams, I've actually worked with students who have actually made teams at the collegiate level. So that's always an option for you.